First, the bad. In 3 years of operating this channel and reviewing dozens upon dozens of titles from AAA to indie, I cannot recall having a worse first hour with a game than I had with the 1.0 release of Star Wars Outlaws, a review copy of which I received from Ubisoft on August 21st. Try as I might, no combination of in-game settings or fiddling with my PC could stabilize the game's playability, to the point that merely walking through the game's first major hub would occasionally turn into a dimension-bending drug trip. And that's assuming I got the game to load at all. In between the frame rate lag, screen tearing, and particle flickering, the game would often just crash for no reason and then take multiple minutes to reload. When the game finally did and felt like calming down enough for me to play for more than 5 minutes, its key bindings had trouble distinguishing between the Xbox controller I wanted to use and my mouse/keyboard, meaning I'd need to press some buttons on one device and some on the other just to interact with basic objects and navigate the menus. Talk about a bumpy start.
Whoa! This thing has some kick!
Add up all this malarkey and these are the scores I would have given SWO had I stopped playing within the standard 2-hour Steam refund window. And yet I persisted. Why? Well, for starters, I'm a childless dog man with nothing better to do. And much more importantly, just 1 month prior I caught a 4-hour glimpse of what Star Wars Outlaws should look like during a preview event hosted by Ubisoft. Now, the gameplay you're seeing on the left is what Ubisoft's remote servers were streaming to my PC, letting me play the game remotely. The same pretty high-end PC later produced the abominable eyebrowless images on the right during my review of the full game. But, as bad as this looks, before you X out of this video and start screaming into the digital void about how Ubisoft lied to content creators about SWO's playability, know this. On August 23rd, 2 days into my hellish bug-riddled journey, Ubisoft released an emergency stability patch that seems to have, well, for the most part, stabilized things. The lag is mostly gone, the cutscenes are suddenly crisp, and the load times have been cut down from minutes to seconds. While I've yet to get my game to look quite as shiny as it did during that preview event, I'm nonetheless thrilled to say that I'm now almost 20 hours into Star Wars Outlaws and having a pretty fantastic time. At least a lot more fun than I've had with any Ubisoft open world title to come out in the last 5, maybe even 10 years. So, to answer the question raised in this video's title, no. Assuming the version of SWO I am currently playing is what people get at launch on August 30th, this game is far from broken. Are there still rough spots? You bet. Some animations are a little immersion killing, like how clipping a boulder will send you sky high, but ramming headfirst into an oncoming land speeder is a-okay. There are also a few too many invisible walls and return to the quest area warnings for my liking. And come on, we're really supposed to believe that Cave S, who's maybe 100 pounds soaking wet, can KO a stormtrooper with a single punch to the helmet without shattering every bone in her tiny hand? But these small gripes feel nitpicky when you juxtapose them with the overwhelming amount of detail and charm stuffed into SWO's 5 worlds. From the interactive droid cooking tents that strengthen your bond with Nyx, Kay's adorable axolotl-like companion, to the seedy crime haven cantinas on each world, each of which sports a sabacc table, arguably the best in-game card game I've played since Gwent. Even better, the main storyline. It takes a simple yet effective premise, recruit a crew of criminal specialists to pull off a life-changing heist, and then injects it with fun twists, like Nyx getting stolen and sold to the Hutts, potentially as dinner for Jabba. Speaking of the big man, SWO does a nice job of organically weaving main cast character cameos into the plot, never losing track of Kay as the game's protagonist, but nonetheless expanding the franchise's lore and explaining what happened between The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. Then add in some solid gameplay progression. It centers around upgrading 4 things. First, your speeder's mobility, thereby giving you access to otherwise unreachable locations. Second, your blaster's versatility, which can rapidly switch between 3 modes depending on the situation and enemy. Third, your ship's survivability for use during space quests. And fourth, Kay and Nyx's list of unlockable skills and perks, not to mention cosmetics. It all adds up to some very satisfying mechanical evolution that is directly linked to your progression of the main storyline. Last but certainly not least, Star Wars Outlaws features great music and top-end sound design, both of which should come as little surprise considering the franchise at large has pioneered these categories for literal decades. This is normally where I'd wrap up a review and hand out final scores, but I'm only about 70% of the way done with the game. And frankly, that first hour was so bad I'm still a little wary of recommending the game on day one. That in mind, consider these my subject to change scores that I promise to update in the comments section upon game completion. Until then, this is Scope, and thanks so much for watching.